afternoon. Is that better? Right, so as you'll have gathered, my name's Christine. I'm here to speak to you today about a call from God to myself and how we got there and what I did with that call. Okay, so this is me, 1946. This little lady here. I was walking at St John's Church, the Church of England, where I'd always attended. Here I am at 5. This is when I asked Jesus to come and live in my heart because there was no room at the inn. I'll expand on that. I was in Sunday school, little talk like this. And the Sunday school teacher was telling us about Jesus, about Mary and Joseph and how they went to Bethlehem and how there was no room at the inn. And she said to us, but you can have room in your heart for Jesus. He can come and live with you. And so I remember clearly that night in bed, just raising my arms and asking him to come and live with me. Now, obviously nobody noticed anything different for a while, until I've gone a bit in front of myself. Yeah, sure.
I think that one will be louder.
Until, well, one day, I was always a bit of a softie, always getting bullied. I had very long blonde hair, and there was 2 girls lived in our street. And one lived at the top, one lived at the bottom. So whichever way I came through my garden gate, you could guarantee I was going to be met with trouble sooner or later, because one of them would collar me. So one day my mum had sent me for some paraffin. You couldn't do that today, could you? You sent a child for paraffin today, and they'd have you, wouldn't they?
I remember that myself.
Do you?
I'm 51.
So I'm coming down the street with this paraffin in one hand and the change in the other. It was a man who sold it at the top of the street. And I'm coming down the road and I spied one of my assailants waiting at the bottom, and I thought, blinking heck, this is another good hiding for me. Sure enough, she was younger than me but bigger. She collared me, threw me in the road, pulled me hair, put some tar on me. So when I got in, my mum, who was a lovely Christian lady, but she had a backbone, you know, she wouldn't stand any nonsense. There's my mum and dad. I came in crying. She said, crying again? What are you crying for this time? And she said, don't tell me. And she named this name, as I'm not going to tell you because it might be one of you. So she said, okay. She said, has she hit you again? I said, yes, she don't mind me not hit her back. I said, because I have my paraffin in one hand and my change in the other. She took them off me. She said, you've not got them in your hand now. You get round to that girl's house, and when she opens the door, or when she comes to the door, you give her the biggest smack in the face that you can muster up. And I'm saying, Mum, she said, and if you come back here and you've not hit her, I'll hit you myself. Well, I thought, what choice do I have here? Off I trotted. My mum stood at the back door with a potato knife in her hand. She was peeling potatoes at the time. And this girl's house was right opposite, so she could see what was going on. She saw my little blonde head bobbing round. She could just see the top of my head. She saw the door open, and then there was this enormous wail went up. So I came back in tears again. My mum says, what's going on now? Did you not hit her? I said, yes. I made her cry. She said, well, what are you crying for? I said, because Jesus said we should love one another. out of you. But you know, my mum felt so guilty because she'd made me hurt somebody, you know, and it hurt my mum that she'd made me do that. So it was quite evident, even at that age, that Jesus was working within me. So now here we go, I'm a bit older, probably 10, with my lovely mum and dad. So then I was the happiest human being on earth. I had an absolutely wonderful childhood, brilliant parents, and everything was absolutely fine until I was 23. I was married and I began struggling with both pre- and postnatal depression. And I can tell you something about this. It is kind of, it consumes you completely, and it lasted for a few years. And everything happened during those years. I pleaded with God to take me. I wanted to die, but he evidently had other plans yet to be revealed. This terrible illness, it robs you of absolutely everything. And I was a wreck of a human being. So much so that if I met someone in the street, I couldn't look them in the face because I felt so unclean and so unworthy to even have the same breathing space of these lovely people that I was sharing this world with. I couldn't look at them, I would speak to the shoulder, whichever few words I could manage to say. Now, some people live with this depression all their life long, and my heart truly goes out to them, because just those few years gave me an insight as to the struggle that happens within a human being. The years passed by, the depression lifted, and I was back in a happy place. So I was quite plump at the time. I had 2 lovely children, and I decided that I was going to go to Weight Watchers and lose all my weight, which I did, as you can see. But that wasn't enough. I changed the colour of my hair, went blonde, grew it. I got absolutely obsessed with clothes, not realising that I had replaced God for another God, and his name was vanity. I began to enter competitions. I won the Bucklands Miss She competition every year for 8 years, and I had to go to semi-finals, and here I am with Colin Bell, just having won one of them. And of course, the more I won, and the more vain I became, I'm lost. Sorry. Oh. Next down. Here we are. Here I am again. Just won another one. 9 stone wet through. I wish it was that now. Here I am again, the holiday princess. Just went on and on. The more I won, the more of a thirst I got. The more I took care of my appearance. I wouldn't leave the house unless absolutely everything was perfect. Full makeup, you know, full hairdo, nails beautiful, clothes beautiful. Here I am again. There's another one, but that date's wrong. I was in the local paper all the time. You see that's a bit blurred, but you can probably see that. Here I am again. Want something else. And here I am again. Right, then it all came to a final end, and the clouds returned. This time it wasn't depression, it wasn't obviously antenatal or postnatal depression. What this was a very traumatic divorce, which ended after 20 years. And all the hardship that came with it, I had absolutely nothing. I lost all my confidence. I felt totally unworthy again to be upon the face of this earth. I was very lonely within myself because I wouldn't tell anybody what was going on, and I was so scared that I was going to take my own life. And it was at this point that I remembered that I had left God behind and replaced him for another one. So this is where I returned to Jesus. The only one really worthy of trust. I promised to do his will in the future if he would just tell me what he wanted me to do. And if he could lead me from this darkness and from everything that went with it. And then I met Jack, my husband now, who's a wonderful, wonderful man and a true gift of God. He gave me back everything that I had lost and more besides. And life's a struggle at the moment. Neither of us are too well. But we're there for each other, and I thank God for him. No, he still hadn't revealed his mission. He still hadn't told me what he wanted me to do. But one day it became very clear, because I had an encounter with a complete stranger. I was a practice manager in a doctor's surgery. I'd got my job back and I'd gone up the ladder till I reached the top. And one day a doctor called me in to the office. And she said, and there was a weeping young woman sitting with her. And this young woman had come in for an abortion, but it wasn't what she wanted. She was being coerced. Her parents said that she couldn't go home unless she had an abortion. Her partner had left her. The baby was going to be of mixed race. She had no money. She was homeless. She had every excuse in the book in today's world to have an abortion. But the doctor asked me would I try and work with her and find her somewhere to live. So before the end of that day, with great struggle, we'd found her a temporary accommodation. We'd got some money in her pocket, and we were just there for her. So the end result was that this lady kept her gorgeous baby, and she brought her into the surgery many times to meet with us. Her parents they now loved this baby. Everything was repaired. Her partner had come back to her. She got a job. She got a nice home. And she had a gorgeous child. Now this showed me that in today's world, ladies like the one I'm speaking, when they feel they've no other choice, it's because there's not enough support there for them towards the alternatives. And it proved that, the fact that I was all day trying to find some way of helping her. So I began to approach Parliament, and I fought for many, many years to get better support for these vulnerable ladies who feel there's nothing else that they can do. It's not an easy task. Sometimes I'm met with a young woman, as at present, who she's no home, she's no money, she's no hope, she's no partner. But one thing she does know, if it's possible, she's going to keep her child. And so I'm there for her. And as I say, it's not an easy task, because sometimes you're met with a drug addict or alcohol addicted. can see them at the very worst, but it doesn't matter. These are human beings who are in desperate need of help, often scorned by other people who haven't got the sense to know that they're, but for the grace of God, they go. So yes, it's my life mission. The next thing I did was I went banging on the Church of England to tell them that the law needs to be changed down at Parliament, that better support needed that all this money has been spent on abortion, but there's nothing being spent on supporting these poor people who feel they have no other choice. So the Church of England listened to me, and since then I've been appearing at the synod, putting down my request for Parliament to change this law. Because I don't really know, but even Down syndrome's babies now are classed as being of no place in the world, and they're being aborted right up to birth. So I'm fighting all of these things because it's injustice. And that is actually where I am at the moment. So here I want to show you my biggest fan of all, my beautiful mother. She lived to be 101 and always behind my mission. This is a final photograph, still smiling. It was her last photograph. I'd sat her in a wheelchair and taken her for a little walk in the park. She would be so proud if she knew that I have spoken at 2 synods now, and they are taking me down to London, I think, to speak at the General Synod to get this into Parliament. Better support for these ladies and girls. So today, as I've just told you, I'm still following my mission. I'm not always 100%. There's all sorts of aches and pains and things wrong, but God has asked me to do this, commanded me to do this, and He gives me the strength to carry on and battle for these ladies. I'm also involved with the council at the moment, and I persuaded them to do a leaflet showing better signposting. It's not only being cascaded in Wigan and Leigh, but everywhere, in every doctor's surgery. So now when a lady comes in for an abortion, before giving her the form, they will give her this leaflet with all the other options and all contact numbers, everything in there that she needs to consider an alternative decision. Now, unknown to me, someone put me up for getting the Monday money. It's here. I don't really know what that is, do you? Any of you? Well, the Monday money, the Queen gives it to you for having gone the extra mile for her fellow man. And someone nominated me that I knew nothing about till I got a letter from Buckingham Palace to say that I've been awarded this. You can come and have a look at it afterwards. All the coins are there and everything. And we go back to Jesus' commandment, love one another. As I have loved you. Well, another means being the most vulnerable of people. Not loving them for the status and who they are, but more the opposite, loving them for who they are not. So I finish with this. Let me not know a life that's free of the things that draw me close to thee. For how could I ever hope to heal the wounds of others I do not feel? Basically what that's saying is all the heartache, all the illness, all the struggles, God has used those things for me to reach out and help someone in very bad circumstances. So if I could just say that if any of you feel that you're not very important, or that you're too poorly, or that you're too downhearted, or there's some reason why God cannot use you, believe me, that is just not true. No matter how small a deed for your fellow man, bend down and help them back up on their feet. Doesn't matter if they're alcoholics, doesn't matter if they're drug addicts, doesn't matter who they are, these are human beings. And as I see it, if God can feel that it is necessary and what he wants to put the seed of a child in a woman, no matter what circumstances, who she is, then that child is meant to be born. And that's my fight for humanity and for God. Thank you.
Wonderful.
I just finished by saying, if any of you, no matter how little it is, but if any of you fancy doing a bit of knitting, I mean, it's a good job they don't ask me knit. You know, I'm like my mum, she knit a pair of booties for my baby and they would have fit an elephant. But if any of you are any good at knitting, sewing, anything, you've got a bit of wool, you want to make a few baby clothes, a pair of booties, like your cardigan, like your hat, and you can get them to Eunice, then I will make sure that they go to the right people. This baby that I'm working with his mum at present, he's got absolutely nothing, not a thing. So it would all be appreciated, and you will be serving God in your own small way. So thank you.